In the lore of the Old West, few names evoke as much fascination as Jesse James. To some, he was a modern-day Robin Hood, to others a cold-blooded killer. But who was the man behind the myth? Welcome to Wild West Outlaw Stories. Today we separate the legend from the man and walk the trail of blood that shaped the American frontier, from his roots in Kentucky to that fateful day in St. Joseph. The story begins with the union of Robert Sally James and Zerelda Cole. Married in 1841 in Kentucky, the couple migrated to Clay County, Missouri, seeking prosperity in the untamed wilderness. Robert was a cultured man, a Baptist pastor, and a founder of William Jewell College. Zerelda, however, was a force of nature, a 6-foot-tall woman determined and fierce. The family grew on the farm with the arrival of Frank in 1843, and Jesse Woodson James, born on September 5, 1847. However, stability was short-lived. In 1850, seduced by the gold rush and a mission to preach to the miners, Reverend Robert left for California. He would never return. He died of cholera in August of that same year, leaving Zerelda a widow and his sons orphans in an unforgiving land. Life on the farm became hard. Zerelda remarried, first to Benjamin Sims, a cruel man, and later to Dr. Reuben Samuel, a doctor with a gentle temperament. But it was the outbreak of the American Civil War in 1861 that truly forged the destiny of the James brothers. Missouri was a powder keg, torn between the Union and the Confederacy. Frank James immediately enlisted in the State Guard to fight for the South. The war arrived at the Samuel farm's doorstep with brutality. Union soldiers, hunting for information on guerrillas, raided the property. They hanged stepfather Dr. Samuel from a tree until he was nearly dead, and whipped young Jesse while he was plowing the fields. That act of violence radicalized Jesse forever. At 16, he joined the ruthless bushwhackers led by Bloody Bill Anderson and William Quantrill, learning to kill before he even learned to live as a man. When the war ended in 1865, the Confederacy fell, but the James brothers did not surrender. They transferred their war to the banks and railroads of the North. In 1866, they pulled off the first daylight bank robbery in peacetime in Liberty, Missouri. The James Younger Gang was born. For 15 years, they terrorized the Midwest. Sensationalist newspapers, eager to sell stories to the civilized East, transformed Jesse into a folk hero, ignoring the brutality of his crimes. However, the reality was bloody. The Pinkerton Detective Agency was hired to hunt them down, resulting in a tragedy in 1875. Agents threw an incendiary device into the family home, killing Jesse's young half-brother and blowing off part of his mother Zerelda's arm. Jesse's hatred grew, but his luck began to turn. In September 1876, the gang attempted a daring raid on the First National Bank in Northfield, Minnesota. It was a total disaster. Local citizens fought back with firearms. The gang was decimated. The younger brothers were captured or killed. Only Frank and Jesse managed to escape, wounded and hunted, disappearing into the shadows. Years passed. Frank decided to retire from crime, but Jesse couldn't stop. By 1881, living under the alias Tom Howard, he moved his wife Z and their children to a house in St. Joseph, Missouri. His old gang was gone. Desperate for partners, he recruited brothers Bob and Charles Ford, unaware that Bob had already made a secret deal with Missouri Governor Thomas Crittenden for the $10,000 reward on Jesse's head. On the morning of April 3, 1882, the heat was stifling in the Howard home. Jesse, feeling strangely safe or perhaps resigned, did something he never did. He took off his gun belt and laid it on the bed, complaining that the revolvers were uncomfortable in the heat. He noticed a dusty, crooked picture frame on the living room wall. Jesse stepped up onto a chair to dust and straighten it. His back was turned to the Ford brothers. It was the opportunity Bob had been waiting for. The click of the hammer echoed in the room. Jesse heard the sound, but there was no time to react. Bob Ford fired. The bullet struck Jesse just behind the right ear. The legendary outlaw fell to the floor dead instantly before his body even hit the carpet. The legend was over. Betrayal had won.
They rode with dust for halos, saints of iron dressed in black. A choir sang through pistol thunder, every shot a scripture crack. No preacher tried to save them, so they preached with